Okay, so you join us for another episode of MartialPreneur TV. We've got with us today Daniel Polonis. Dan, how you doing?
Good, Scott. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That's cool, man. Dan is a serious dude. He's been knocking around for a bit, and
One way or another.
he's going to share with us a little bit about what he does and some experience he's had, mainly in the sort of professional security realm. Would you say that's right, Dan?
Sure. Well, let me start it out here. All right. I have a company. It's called Polonis Group. We're based out of the West Indies in Barbados.
Nice.
And what I do is basically training and offer networking opportunities for military, law enforcement, corrections, and approve certain security companies. And basically what we do is we are like a full service company that we can either have operational teams that will come in and perform operational security, or primarily what I focus on, or I like to focus on, is training and risk management and liability mitigation for, in particular, law enforcement, corrections, and with a focus on officer survival and tactical team survival. And that sums it up as far as what I do.
Some heavy shit.
Right. But within that we do incorporate, like I said, martial arts training is incorporated on that. It may not be as traditional as what some people have, but as you know, in any kind of tactical field or high risk field, it is necessary to have the tools to survive a high risk incident.
Okay, so that's great. I mean, you know, as just a bit of a background as to yourself. I mean, how did you get into that? I mean, that sounds a really in-depth field, and it's not your average run-of-the-mill dojo.
No, it's not. No, I was one of the this will show my age. Was one of the people that where I grew up, and I grew up in the U.S. I'm originally from the United States. I grew up in a very small town in upstate New York, and your choice was either go to college or work on a farm. I wasn't really that smart to go to college, and I was too smart to work on the farm. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So I enlisted in the Army, found that it agreed with me, learned what I could. After I got out of the Army, you really didn't have a choice. Well, you do have a choice, but I found that law enforcement was more compatible to what I wanted to do, so I started that with the police department, and then I ended up going to state law enforcement and worked in maximum security prison, and then eventually a super maximum security prison that they had just built. That was a concept that started in the late 80s, early 90s, super max. Right. Because you had a lot of gang problems, a lot of inmates where you were finding violence for them. And now, being naive, you think that everything's going to be wonderful and everything's going to be fine. I realized that the training that they gave when I started was 4 weeks long, and it really didn't focus on officer survival. It was more administrative and how to keep liability. Right. But once you got into the environment, you realize just how violent it was. To put it in terms that civilians would understand, picture yourself going into an office building where someone locks the door behind you, and everybody that's in that building hates you and wants to do bodily harm.
Well, that's like keep it raw.
So if you don't have the tools to deal with that violence and that anger and that hate towards you because you're a sign of authority, it can tend to be a little dangerous. And back in the late 80s, one of the facilities that were close to me, they used to call it Gladiator School because of the violence that took place.
Really?
So with that, as I came up and I studied, I was like, well, how come we're not giving the officers any kind of training to basically protect themselves? They just gave minimal techniques and tactics. Usually they would just save anything that would be considered like serious to either the special operations unit or someone that would deal with it outside of who would deal with the initial problem. So what got me started on this path was that I realized most special response teams deal with the problem after it has escalated.
Right.
Okay. And the reason it has escalated was because the line officers, whether it be a police officer or it be a correction officer or a sheriff or whatever the case may be, they weren't given the tools to immediately deal with that problem. So it would escalate. Usually in that escalation, the officers would get hurt. And then you would wait for the response team to show up, which could take anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours.
Right.
So I looked at, I said, why don't we take some of the tactics that are there or give the officers training to deal with a threat as it's faced? Okay. Which started me on the journey of, okay, what do you want to teach? Because you have traditional martial arts, which are fine, but in a close quarter combat situation or where you're facing an armed assailant, what's going to be effective? It needs to be quick, and it needs to be, one, if it was a non-lethal to gain control, it needed to be a defensive art, not really an offensive art, like where you're going to like give strikes that would kill right away and all that, because you're not trying to do it. So I also looked at what would cover the departments against liability, as far as any kind of use of force in any government agency or any government law enforcement. They want to know about, okay, well, we don't want to be held liable because we're being too violent toward either an offender or a suspect or a convicted inmate. However, it doesn't work on the other side of the fence with the inmates or the suspect. He doesn't care about his liability.
Okay.
You know, so that's where you have to find the middle of the road.
Makes sense.
So that's what started. That was the foundation that I started on.
Okay, and so then you did you leave the corrections to found your company from there?
Yes, what I did was when I retired, I had a lot of free time, you know. So I'm not a real golf person or anything like that. I moved someplace. Came here to Barbados because, well, it's Barbados, number one. I was tired of winters, number two. But I also looked at, okay, let's say, I'm going to say like from 2003 to 2009, 2010, there's this explosion in the United States where everyone that had a pistol or went to an NRA course, all of a sudden they're tactical trainers and tactical instructors, and they make these claims that they're going to teach you this and teach you that, and their system is the best. And I have no overt problem with it. My thing was, that's fine, but it was all about the money.
Yep.
It wasn't about the knowledge. And, you know, there were places that for example, when I came to Barbados in 2006, previously in 2005, the prison had burned down to the ground. The only prison they had, because the officers who were there didn't have the skill set to deal with a riot. So what started me in to start a company here was, I said, okay, we're going to set up an emergency response team for the prison service, which is what I did. The problem was when I got there, I was expecting to see officers that had the same level of skill that you would have in the U.S. or Canada or any, you know, not really realizing that Barbados is a developing country. Right. And really the focus wasn't there. They may get free training from the UK or Canada once every 2-3 years, but nothing in the way of officer survival and tactical training. So that was how I got started there. The thing was that it was different. That separated me was, I tell them, once you receive the training, all you got to do is call me or say, look, we want training on this. Once you come into Polonis Group, you're part of the group, you know, it's not about the money. So it's, you know, everybody wants to make a profit, yes. But at the same time, my thing is officer survivability. So you continue that relationship, you continue that training.
So you'll keep updating them and give them additional training if needed.
Yes, the people that went through the training, I see pretty much, they will call me and say, look, we have this going on or that going on. What can you do? And I'll make the recommendations. And if they want the training, I'll come do it. And that's where I try to keep the focus.
Sure.
As far as the business part of it, what I try to do is, when I tell people, if you're going to look for training, what you should be looking at is for someone who's, number one, not someone who say, this is my system, you do it this way, and if you question it, they're saying, because I told you to do it. Right. I'm telling you how to do it. Okay, my thing is everybody brings experience to the table. If you have a question or you say, well, what if we try this? Well, let's explore that.
Right.
And that's what happens there. So my thing is, what I tell everybody, everybody's a student, including me, and everybody's an instructor. Because everybody brings your life, if you were to come, you would bring your life experience, you know, and we would look at it from there. My thing is, a lot of courses that I do, especially for military, is put people in under a stressful situation to see how they react, or to give them the confidence in their ability.
Okay.
And part of that, like, if you're going to incorporate martial arts, like I said personally, for me, I have a background in Aikido and Jeet Kune Do, so I find that works well for me.
Great.
But there are there are systems out there. I mean, basically every country has a system, as you know.
Yeah.
So you go from there. I mean, like I said, some of the people you've had, excuse me, I like their system. You had T.J. Kennedy. I like his system. Lou Holloway, Raw Combat, outstanding. I'm sure you'll have other people on that have different styles.
Yeah, sure.
And it all has something. It's just how you can take the tool and have the options to survive. That's basically what I teach. Giving you the options to survive.
That's great. I mean, that's a nice perspective as well. Is that, you know, you're saying, you know, although the money's great, it's good. It's in your mind. You want to focus on the officer training or the personal training. But sort of when you sort of going back a little step, when you win a contract, how about you know, you said you went to Barbados and started training people. What was that process? What obstacles did you find? I mean, I'm sure it probably wasn't as easy as going, "Hey guys, I'm here."
I've answered all your prompts. No, when I went down, and like I said, the process for me is, if it's a government agency, I try to stay within whatever their use of force guidelines are.
Mm-hmm.
What I tell people when I'm training, what I'll do is I'll say, like, when I read about the fire, I went to the prison service, and I just said, well, I'm just inquiring about who does your training, and what could you have done differently, and what did you learn from that, and you know, what are your needs,
sure,
okay, that you are waiting for. And for here, I was just lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, which a lot of places that is, especially in this region, North America. You have, like I said, there's so many schools, there's so many, and people, especially in the U.S., it's all about the brand name. Yeah. You know, I'm going to go to SIG, or I'm going to go to Smith & Wesson Academy or something like that, because they figure that's the best. And they may be. My thing is, you pay a lot of money. When you come out of it, what did you learn? And do you feel confident with it? Okay. Whereas here, how the process for me was, I let you identify what it is you want. Okay. And then I'll say, well, this is the program I have. If it fits your needs, fine, let's move ahead. If not, how can I tailor it to meet your needs? It's basically just being able to work with whatever, either an individual or a group or whatever. For me, there's also a screening process, because there are some people that they want to learn all this knowledge, but they're not going to be using it, for lack of a better term, for good.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. And in today's in tactical environment where you have terrorism and, you know, homegrown terror, all that, you have to be very selective on who you choose. You have to do an investigation on the person that you're trying to get a contract with.
Sure, you could essentially be providing training to sort of beef up someone's gang or group, or, you know, bad intent. Yeah.
So if you're gonna get into that, into this kind of work and all that, ethically, you have to be untouchable. You have to be above everybody else. You have to conduct yourself, because your reputation, your name, like for me, my name goes on every training I do. My name is the certificate.
Yep.
So that if something happens, bad, good or bad, my name's on that.
Sure.
So I try to make sure it's thorough, and then I try to make sure that, let's say that you come to a class, you use a technique that I've taught you, and an individual gets hurt, there's a court case or whatever. All you have to do is say, look, you know, I used what you taught me. The guy ended up getting hurt. He's suing me now.
Yep.
I will come. Yep. And if you need me to be there to testify, you say, yes, I did teach him, and he did do it appropriately. and so you have that extra layer of security for you that you do it. Now, if you go off and start doing your own little ninja thing, then I'll say, no, I didn't teach that, so I don't know how you ended up doing that.
So I mean, like you say there, I mean, some guys will might want to try and go off and do their own little weird thing. I mean, what sort of myths would you like to dispel, or do you get a lot of people wanting to get into your area of business and think it's something, and then find out that it isn't?
Not all glitz and glamour.
Yep.
It's not as sexy as everybody thinks it is.
Yeah.
One, because the liability that you are giving knowledge that could possibly take someone's life. Yeah. That liability is on you. So you have to be a serious person. If you're just a run and gun, like, you want to be a cowboy, buy a horse and move to Wyoming. If you want to help people, you want to give professionals in the field or an individual confidence to survive an incident. Especially a lot of the people that contact me were victims of either an assault, or they knew someone or a family member and they felt powerless. What I try to do is basically give you the knowledge, give you the confidence in the knowledge that you've learned, and that give you the guidance on how to apply it and what situations. Okay. Usually, and I tell everybody, I said, most of what I teach you, unless you're a military unit that your job is basically to take life, I will tell you at all costs, use whatever your policies are. If you find yourself in a situation that whatever approved tactics they have taught you are not working and your life is in danger, then try this.
Right.
Because it's better to go home than go to the cemetery because you didn't have the tools. Absolutely. And like I said, the martial arts are an imperative part of the fabric to successfully surviving one of these encounters. From the business point of view, you wouldn't just give someone a loaded weapon that you didn't know had any kind of training and expect they're going to be able to use it properly. Right. So it's just like, it's basically that type of liability you have. As far as the myths of like what you see on TV with shows like, what is one of them shows? Like Strike Back or The Unit or any of those, that's Hollywood. That's the entertainment part of it.
Yep.
Okay? So I tell everybody, you have to run it like a business. You have to know what you can and you can't do, and who you can do it with, and what is going to be the cost and what is liability to you at the end of the day. And remember, it's your name. So if you have if you look shoddy, or you're not thorough, or if you're one of these guys and just kind of like wing it, your name is going to be out there. Yeah. And every small community, it's a real small community.
I mean, that's sound advice for any kind of business, really. Anyone run anything, that's some nice advice there, Dan.
But even more so, I mean, because you have some real good instructors that you just know by reputation. Yeah. I mean, some of the people that are in this business really know their stuff. Some you're like looking at and you will see it. The other thing is in this business, everybody, it's a small enclosed arena, and there's a limited amount of money that's involved. So everybody's going to start saying, "No, my system is the best. My system is the best." It's confusing. So what I tell people is, if you're going to look for whether it's martial arts or it's tactical training, firearms, anything like that, look at who the instructors are. Look at their claims. And I'll use an example. Like Luke Holloway, the proof is in the pudding. He's got his videos. They're not Hollywood. They're not. They're to the point. They're clear, and he's very clear. That's what I like about particular Raw Combat. I'm just using him as an example. I'm not trying to do a commercial for him. I'm just saying that I know that
he's okay.
Yeah, he's a solid. That's what you want. You want an instructor that's just not going to say, "I'm telling you to do it," and that's how it is. Yeah. You want someone that you can learn from, and you're not going to be afraid to ask questions. And at the end of the day, you have the confidence and the new skills that you have, because you can go spend 2 weeks and $20,000, and all of a sudden you're walking out and you're confronted, and you find yourself in a situation, and your mind goes blank. then if it was you came to me, then I have failed you.
Yeah.
Because you paid money, and yet you didn't. When you left, you weren't confident in the skills you had.
Yeah.
So I always try to make sure that when you come here, you're put under stress, so that you can rely. You know that if you get into that situation, you will have the confidence to deal with it.
I think you're embodying professionalism there, Dan, and it's just like you're making it as a pillar of trust there, really, aren't you? To stand out with your name, you have to be a pillar of trust and be able to come up with the real goods, like you're saying, is the security and the ongoing long-term life of your student or whatever group you're training, rather than that quick buck kind of, I've got a contract for 6 months and then see you later, so.
Yeah, but there are those companies that it's all about the profit.
Yeah.
It's all about, okay, you paid your money, class is over, good luck. Here's your certificate mill. There are some agencies out there that's all they want. They want a certificate. They want the liability off them and on to the other party. So if you're serious about what you want, and you want something that's really going to carry you through to the next level, or if you're going to get involved in this, you have to, your brand, your whatever product you're pushing. Number one, you have to believe in it, but you also have to be willing to put yourself out for that person who's coming to you, not just as a possible client, but as someone who there's a reason why they're there. You don't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I want to learn how to fire a weapon, or I want to learn how to defend myself.
Yeah.
Usually there's a reason behind that. Right. So I try to, we don't like hug it out and sing kumbaya, the class is over. At the same, if you go back into whether you work for an agency or you're a private individual, you call me, say, you will always have access to me. So all you got to do is call me. And if there's something I got to help you with, it's not going to be, okay, well, it's going to be, $19.99 and I'll give you the next lesson. Yeah. It's going to be, all right, well, let's look at the problem and see if we can't solve it. Okay. And in turn, once you get that good karma out there, that's where you become profitable, because guys will remember you, and they will always, the best credibility you can have in this business are the people that take your courses and go out and say, look, that was an awesome course, I want to come back next year.
Do you know, I was just talking to Ken Byrne from Golden Tiger Academy over in Ireland, and he was saying a very similar thing. He was just saying, you go out there and you just give out to people, even for free, and just give something first before you start taking, and then you find that, people want more, they'll come back and they'll want more, and then they tell more people.
Right.
And like what you just said there, if you're going to go put out quality and actually just care and put something out where you're interested in and vested responsibility, it comes back to you in more than the straightforward ways. You get the word of mouth, you get interest, and build that sort of long-term marketability, rather than just take the quick buck and fuck off.
But it's also, like I said, it's also the different levels you're going to get. You'll always hear like, oh, he's an ex-SEAL, or he was a Delta Force, or he was SAS, or he was whatever. That's great. I'm glad that you put the work in. That doesn't necessarily mean you can teach.
Yes,
perfect. Some of the best instructors that I had were just guys that, they went and they learned, and they didn't know anything about it when they started. But they paid attention, they did. But I had another guy that, he was either in the U.S. Special Force, I forget where he was. All he did was yell at people. Yeah. I go, what did you learn?
Yeah.
I learned how to yell at people and curse people out.
Yeah. Just got earache.
He was very good operationally, but as far as teaching, it takes you really, number one, you got to be patient, and you always get somebody that's you always get someone that comes into the course that thinks they know more than you. Yeah. And what if we did it this way? So I'm like, fine, let's go on.
And like you said, it makes no odds if you can't communicate and you're not a good communicator and you can't get the point across. It doesn't matter how much you know; it's useless.
Right.
So
like I said, instead of focus on the high speed, me personally, I really look forward to either the private individuals that are looking to better themselves or learn some sort of self-defense, and the line officers that are either coming in or realize complacency may have got them hurt, or they may have gotten into an incident where they, even if it's a refresher course. But my thing is, I prefer for the line officers, because those are going to be, or the private individuals are going to find themselves in that incident initially.
Yeah.
Most special operations respond to issues. Most, like I said, most line officers and private individuals are the ones that are going to deal with the problem initially. And if they handle it properly and they have the tools, whether it be a non-lethal use of force or a lethal use of force tool, how they handle that within the first 2 minutes will let you know if it's going to be escalated or it's going to be de-escalated and over.
Perfect,
so that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
And then I also deal with the aftermath of it, because everybody gets this great training, and then a lot of people like, well, they want to handle the sexy part with the, the gun and
the action bit.
So now we're going to deal with the mental trauma or maybe the physical trauma of someone who's injured. They survive. My thing is, I teach you to survive. I can't guarantee you're going to go home unhurt. I can't guarantee. I am not going to teach you anything where you're just going to touch the bad guy, he's going to disappear. Because if I could do that, I'd be making a lot more money than what I'm making now.
Yep.
It's just your mindset, and there are a lot of people that write books and do all that, and it's you have to make that choice. One, if you're going to come into this business, do you have that ability to motivate people? Do you have that ability? You can have all the skills in the world, but if you can't take that and transfer it to the people who maybe aren't as quick to learn a technique as you, you're going to fail, and people are going to become frustrated. You're going to become frustrated, and nobody's going to learn anything. So you waste a lot of time. So the field is not for everyone. It's you really have to be one that's looking for more than just the money. If you're going to get in for the money, you're not going to succeed. You may get one good contract, but after that, you may not see money for a long time.
Sure. So, going back to what you were saying originally, you offer networking opportunities as well for
Right. What I do is when people come here, or I get probably about 3 or 4 emails a month about somebody looking for specific training. If I know that like I'm not the best at long range target interdiction or sniper training, what I will do is I'm like, fine, I can teach you, but if you want to learn from the best, I'm going to recommend, and I'll pass them off to who I'll say. There's a fellow named Fred Masterson that's in Arizona from Force Options. I'll tell him, contact Fred, tell him I sent you, and learn from him, because he's probably one of the best long-range people that I know.
Right.
So it's all about if I can't do it, or I know that I'm not comfortable with the level of what this person is asking, let me get them to the person who I believe would have the information, or if for any situation that would be in training, you have to be willing to let the possible client get the best education they can. Right. Even if it's at your law, somewhere down the road, it may come back. And if you operate like that, I think you'll be successful.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's a great little sort of business in itself, really, that anyone could take use of, especially if maybe you're a martial artist with a lot of contacts, and you may not necessarily have to run a group or a class. You could maybe turn that into a business model in itself, if you're well connected enough.
Yeah, I mean, you can. If you want to be a referral source, then you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I also I do, and we're working on that now. We're going to hope for next year. Maybe at 2014, we'll have a trade show and a fitness challenge here in Barbados. And what that does is you bring all these agencies and these professionals from all over the world, where ordinarily you may not have contact with them.
Sure.
So if you're in the sheriff's department in Baltimore, and you're going to be competing against either German GS9 or British SAS or whatever. And normally in your life, you probably never have that opportunity, but you can network there. Look, we're going to be doing some training if you want to come, so on and so forth. And you provide that. And just you increase the professional development through that networking opportunity, whether it be from a local agency or an international agency. That way, you bring them in one place, and they can share. Well, we have this problem, which we have done, and I've seen it happen. Because honestly, I'm going to use Barbados as the rule. In 2006, prior to the U.S. deporting the criminals were prior to 2007. If you broke the law and you weren't a citizen of the U.S., you still did your time in the U.S. Right. And they decided, well, we're tired of having to foot that bill, so we're going to send you back to your country of origin. So the gang members that were from New York City and L.A. and places like that were used to dealing with the police from New York City and L.A. got shipped back here to Barbados, where it's really laid back. And so now the police, while they do an excellent job of what the resources they have, these are some hard criminals that have access to weapons that are theirs from the U.S. and
just
contact
another level up.
Right. So you try to. One of the things they asked me from one of the units is, how do you decide? They didn't know that like certain gangs had a set of rules and a set of code to which they were able to communicate. That was not, so I was like, well, let me teach you it. Or how to use spray paint and tagging and do all that to send a message to somebody else. And so that once they realize that, you try to help.
Yeah.
So it's all about networking. And I said, if I can't do it, I'm going to put you in touch with somebody that can. I could have said, well, yeah, you could do it. And then try to go back to the guy and say, well, look, I need to know everything I can about, reading graffiti. And yeah, I'd get the money, but and for me, I think I'd be kind of cheating the people that really need the information.
Yeah.
And what I would tell people getting into is, don't wing it. If you can't do it, don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just admit it where your line stops. Just put your hand up. Go look.
Something to do it on like explosive entry or anything like that. If I can't do it, I can source it, but
well, I think. I think as well, I've spoke about this before with some of the other interviews that I've done, is that if you start trying to please everyone as well, you lose that sort of credibility and you lose that draw to you as a specialist in your field. If you start trying to be, I can do this and, I can do that as well, and, I want everyone. If you start to narrow the focus and just go, I'll teach you the best of this and the rest of it, I'll know who I can send you to. I think you just have more of a draw, and it just makes you more of a specialist and stand out more. I think there's a lot of the guys I've been speaking to have all said that, so just ditch the try and please everyone and just focus on what makes sense to you.
If you're going to be a specialist, try to get some certifications.
Yeah.
Don't just if you want to focus in that area. Like for me, I really don't certify people that, okay, you're a certified expert in this. I will give you, you attended this course and you received this amount of information. Mm-hmm. Okay. For firearms, like I said, I always say with the NRAs, that if you want to become a certified law enforcement instructor, go through an NRA course. If you want to come back and you want to learn, building clearing and all that, we can do that. My thing is, like I can't be redundant enough. Just don't wing it. Just like, or if you want to do something, like say you don't like the way something is done, or you don't think it's cool, fine. All you need to do, write a course, write the course the way you want to do it, run the drills, do whatever. Have someone look at it who can say, okay, all right, this is better than what we have, so we can start. Always exceed. For me, I always exceed whatever the international regulations say,
sure,
or whatever. Sure. For example, for firearms, I will look at what the NRA stipulations are, or what their qualifications are, and I will try to supersede those with the training. In other words, make it more stringent than what they have.
Yeah.
So that way, if you were to leave my course and then go to, say, an NRA course, you would be like, oh, well, we did the same thing, but it was this much more tougher.
Yeah.
That's always be the next step above. Always prepare the person for the next level.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's a great way of looking at things. I mean, that way as well, like you say, when people then come in contact with others who are doing, say, like you said there, the example of an NRA course, say, and then the people will ask as well, where did you do your training? How come you're shooting so well, or you're finding this easy? Who did you learn from? And then it's instant advertising for you.
Now, on the flip side of that coin. And that's, the academic part of that's what I always say. Go with someone that you can get. If you're looking for credentials, make sure that you spend your money in the right place and get it. Mm-hmm. And the flip side of that coin, knowledge supersedes certifications. Because if you get into a situation, especially a high-risk situation, whoever the individual is trying to hurt you, isn't going to care what kind of certifications you have. Okay, they're just bent on doing you harm. So you want to have the knowledge and the tools. If you're going to whip out your NRA card and say, "Look, I'm certified. You don't want to do this." I don't really think that's going to be a deterrent.
No.
So that's why I say that's why there's two schools of thought for me anyway with certification versus non-certification. The knowledge is the key. Just find someone that you look at that and you find it that it can be applicable to you in your situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't just go because he's got this name and he's got that name. It's what you're learning, you're taking from.
Goal specific.
Right.
Yeah.
So how I've been operating has been successful for me. Okay, it's an individual. There's no cookie cutter. Well, if you do this, this, and this, you're going to be successful. It's a very niche market in business. It's basically just like I teach to, contain, control, and clear a problem. You have to have honesty, integrity, and respect to make that be successful in this field, and and I will give you take a cautionary tale from me. Be very careful of who you associate yourself with, because I had some real bad experiences in the past with people who promised me the world and then said they could do X, Y, and Z, and at the end of the day, it was all just a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
That caused me personally, and credibility-wise, hurt me because of their actions. So that's the cautionary tale that I would share with people. Okay. If you're going to go into business with someone like a partner, make sure you check them out. Don't just say that's a great man.
Yeah. So I mean, on the flip side of that, is there anyone who's been a real big mentor to you or influence that really helped you out, and you were like, that or gave you something that you really opened doors for you? Or
well, I would have to say that one of the and to this day, I mean, we haven't really talked in a while. One of the best instructors that I have had from this field would have to be a fellow by the name of Dr. Wes Doss. Can't say enough good things about him. If you're going to learn from somebody, he's one of the he brought me up to speed. One of the best instructors I've seen in this field. Again, there's another fellow that I met and worked with recently, Jim Korn. If you can learn from him, another great guy. One that made me realize that basically we're on the same level again would be, I'd say, Luke Holloway. Dealing with him, that I'm looking at it. His drive, his commitment to his craft makes me want to also be on the same level. Yep. So when things, and you do have days where you're like, man, I just want to go sit on the beach. I don't want to, have to go deal with that. Yep. So then you see them out every day doing their thing. You're like, well, if he's doing it, then I should be doing it.
Sure.
So it's as far as what I also learned would be the actual experience, and I don't wish that on anyone. One, being a victim of an assault, or two, having to carry one of your coworkers, one of your friends to an ambulance that because they were hurt in an incident that you had no control over. So it just, with stuff like that, you really need to, that will motivate you. That has been my prime motivation. Basically, critical incidents that I've been involved in, to where I was like, I wish I had better training.
Sure.
So I know if I think that now, then I'm pretty sure I'd like to think that things have improved since I've been doing it. So because that was like the 80s. 2013, I'd like to think that things have evolved, but sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. I think, obviously not in your field at all, but I know, that even in the martial arts field and the sort of self-protection just on a civilian level, there's still pockets, isn't there, of just do it because it's always been done that way. And I think, you have to start looking at it logically and see, can it evolve and what has changed.
Right. Well, like I said, with self-protection there, or if you're going to do bodyguard work or anything like that, everybody thinks, oh, I'm a bodyguard. That's sexy. Let me tell you something. You can have a black belt, 2 black belts. You can have, bodyguards are a whole different environment because the threats are different, and the liability if something goes wrong is not just you as an individual, but it's the person who has either paid you or has hired you or has engaged you in services to protect either them or their families. And there's many layers of protection, that not just the physical hands-on, which is a key part, and that you would have to engage in, but there's also secondary and tertiary areas that you need to be responsible for.
Sure.
So that when you get into bodyguard work, yes, martial arts are very important. It's a foundation, but you need to learn a lot more in the areas of self-protection and working in that field as a professional. Because it's not glamorous as like TV would show.
Yeah.
Most of the times they want you out of sight. They don't want to. They want to have you there, but not be seen.
From what I've got from people like yourself and guys who are experienced in that field, it's very far from the what you see on TV, and to the point of most days they want to burn their eyes out in boredom.
Yeah, you have to get. But the thing is, and that's one of the models I have. The career you choose, if you're in this field, is 98% boredom, 2% chaos.
Yeah.
What I do is I try to prepare you for that 2% chaos. And so 98% of the time, yes, you're bored. But it's just when you're at the lowest point of boredom that 2%.
It's going to kick off. Yeah.
So I tell people, yes, if you're going to take martial arts, learn it. Don't let it lax. But always, like a Boy Scout, always be prepared for that 2%.
Sure. I mean, just going on from the sort of mentors with the sort of training side, or your experiences and motivations, and how about business? I mean, is there any, like myself, I like to read up on business and marketing and various different sides of self-taught. Never been to college or uni over it, but is there anyone or any particular book or someone you know who's been a good business mentor?
One book that I did read that I like, I don't know who wrote it, but it was if you want to be a millionaire or something like that. Tony Robbins is very good as far as motivation. The book, I'm trying to remember the name. I don't know who it was I read. And most of the, as far as, believe it or not, most of the marketing or how I would operate is marketing is just like any other aspect or business. It's just like you have to have a battle plan. So to sound, if I'm going to sound cheesy, this is where I'm going to sound cheesy. Sun Tzu wrote a book 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
The principles still hold true today.
It's one of the, I think it's one of the top best-selling business books, like as in the business section.
You can apply it to how you use it here.
Yep.
But as far as, like I said, but that's a whole nother thing. Marketing, buy my book and become a millionaire. Well, the guy who wrote the book is probably a millionaire.
Yeah.
You're probably still. But I like guys like Tony Robbins. I like him for business because he does spell everything out. Yes, he wants you to buy into his system, but I really don't see where you need to buy into a system if you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's this. Be confident in what you have. Learn what you need to learn, and surround yourself with people that know more than you and that are successful, which is what I have tried to do.
Great.
Not always successfully, but at least you got to try.
Exactly.
So that's
success is in many different forms, but I mean that's sort of what we're trying to achieve here on MartialPreneur TV is just have a little bank of knowledge that you can draw from and just see how different people approach what we do and different areas.
I think what you're doing is important, Scott, because it gives people a resource to come to.
Sorry, you cut out there a bit, Dan.
What you're doing is important. This program that you have that you're running is important because it's a resource center.
Sure.
for people that are looking for guidance. And people should do their own research, but they need a starting point.
Yeah.
So you give them that, and you give them a place they can turn to with names that they haven't heard. I haven't seen anyone that you've interviewed so far that I've seen. Granted, it has been a lot. That I'd be like, why is he interviewing this guy? Because I'm sure when people see me, will be like, why is he interviewing this guy?
Man, it's not always as well. It's not always the big names, but I'm sure you'll be blazing a trail anyway, Dan.
The whole thing of it is you got to be able to laugh at yourself too.
Yeah.
In this line of work, if you can't laugh at yourself and have some sort of sick sense of humor, you're going to die of a heart attack before you're 50.
Mate, there's no chance of that when you're living in Barbados.
Pretty much had my bet on that one.
Hey, listen, Dan, I mean, I'll probably have to wrap it up there. We're probably pushing an hour of interview there, man. And a lot of valuable information as well. And I think anyone who will watch this and is maybe looking to get into your field, there's untold stuff they can pick through there. So
right.
I just
Like I
appreciate
said,
you.
anybody needs guidance, that they can get a hold of me. And then that's fine. I'm on Facebook and all that.
Yeah, I was going to say what channels, if anyone does want to get hold of you, what's their websites or email or what's the best?
You can email me at daniel.polonis@yahoo.com. We'll be coming out with the website for the fitness challenge and all that shortly, and then I'll probably post it on my Facebook, which is also Daniel Polonis. And like I said, we're available. You can also call if you're in the U.S. You can reach me at 1-866-245-4827. And if you want to call the Caribbean Direct, it's 1-413-303-9727. And we will be more than happy to help you out any way we can. I mean, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to talk. I know you are the big man over there in the UK, so I know that your time is.
I'm a big man. I don't know if I'm the big man.
But we do look forward to seeing you down here for the challenge and the trade show.
Yeah,
signing autograph.
Be good. I mean, we'll be travelling around, I'm sure, at some point. So any excuse to come out to Barbados will be much appreciated.
Appreciate that.
It's like minus 2 or 3 here now at the minute, so it's getting cold.
Never below 78 here, my friend.
Oh, I'm going to hang up on you now. I'm going to hang up on you.
You have a happy holiday.
Yep.
And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for sharing all your knowledge there, Dan, on the show, and I'll just let everyone know that we'll put all the links and stuff to your website, email address, contact number. I'll pop it on the show notes for anyone who's interested. So look below this video somewhere. Okay, man. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing so much knowledge.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me just ramble on for an hour.
That's all right, man. Thanks very much.
All right. Take care.
Cheers, man.
All right.